So one thing that I've liked to talk about at times is tournament structures. Surprisingly, I don't see a ton of folks talking about that. I can't imagine why. Anyways, here is something that I came up with a little while ago that I figured I'd share with the world. Um, I don't think there's anything especially crazy innovative about this, but this is a ladder tournament. All right. So the way that this works is that over here on the left side shows the ranking of all participants heading into a round or a match day. And then based on the result of this, everyone goes somewhere else, right? So here at the top, to be clear, this is a game or a matchup, right? So there's going to be two participants that enter into this matchup number one. The winner is going to follow this green line, and the loser is going to follow this orange line, right? So whoever wins matchup number one will move on to matchup number one for the following round. Whoever loses will go to matchup number four. All right, matchup number two, the winner goes to number one, and the loser goes to number seven. Matchup number three, the winner goes to number two, and the loser goes to number 10. Is that right? The loser goes to number 10. Yep. So all of these work like this, right? For every matchup in a given round, there's two participants, and the winner goes somewhere and the loser goes somewhere. And you'll see that there's exactly two participants going into each of these. So that sets up the following round, right? So now you know what your matchup number one, number two, number three, etc. are going to be for the following round. And there's actually no limit to how far this can go. I have it drawn all the way down to number 12 with winners and losers. For lower ones, I only am showing where the winners go, but there's no reason you couldn't show where the losers go as well. Interestingly, I've got these kind of color-coded into these little blocks here, and those kind of indicate what level you're at. So obviously this here is your championship matchup, and this is one advantage of a ladder tournament. Every single round has a championship match, and after every single round, you can declare a champion. So this works traditionally in something like boxing or MMA, where once you're the champion, you get to continue to be the champion until somebody knocks you off. And then the rest of these kind of are who's in contention for being able to do that kind of a knockoff, right? This matchup number two is your number one contender matchup. So, it's kind of like a semifinal, right? If you win the number two, then you're going to get a chance at the final in the following round. Matchup number three and four, see how they're grouped together? This is kind of the third tier, right? So if you want to get to be champion and you're currently in matchup number three, you're going to have to win matchup number three, which will advance you to number two. And then this round, you're going to have to win your matchup number two, which would advance you to number one. And then when you win that, you can call yourself champion. Number four does the same thing, right? So matchup number four also advances to matchup number two. So matchup number three and matchup number four are really equal to each other, right? These two guys here are both at the same level. They both have to win this one, then this one, and then this one. They're both 3 wins away from being champion, right? And they're not both going to be able to do that because they will end up playing against each other. As for the losers always drop down by 2 levels, right? So number 1 drops 2 levels down to number 4 if they lose, if you lose in the number 1 matchup. So if you're in the championship match and you lose, you're going to go down to matchup number 4. And in order to get back to being champion, you have to win that matchup number 4, and then win this matchup number 2, and then win your number 1 matchup. So following a loss, it takes 3 wins to get back to being a champion again. That's if you lose from the number 1. I think that's true for everything, right? So if you lose from number 2, you're going to go down to number 7, right? And then you have to win number 7 to advance to number 4, win number 4 to advance to number 2, win number 2 to advance to number 1. So here you're back to where you were, right? So you've won your 3 matchups and you're back to where you were. You win that, and you're good again to go on up. How many spots are on each level? Well, it turns out that it's Fibonacci numbers, right? So there's 1 on the first, 1 on the second, 2 on the third, 3 on the fourth, 5 on the sixth, 5 on the fifth, then 8, 13, etc. Right? So you just add up the previous 2, and that gets you to where you are. Like I say, there's no reason that this can't just keep going on forever. Now, we know in something like boxing or MMA, one of the big problems, there's 2 problems that come up with it that this system does not address. One is, what if the result is a draw or a no contest? If you somehow don't have a result somewhere on this ladder, that messes the whole thing up, right? Suppose this matchup number 4 just doesn't happen. right? Well, what are we going to do in the next round then? We had two people at this level. Um, we could just leave them both at 4, but then what about these guys who are coming into level 4? Are we going to somehow bump this level 4 up or down compared to what this level 4 would be? That's probably what you would do, but then it changes things around. Likewise, if the result is a draw, it's hard to figure out what to do about that as well. And then, of course, what if there's an injury, right? What if somebody who's supposed to be here at matchup number 4 is injured and can't compete? Now, sure, you might be able to fairly say that their opponent should then be able to advance because it's not the opponent's fault that they weren't given that chance. And I'm actually okay with that. But do you really want to have a system where then they have to drop back down because of an injury? Probably not. So there is some shuffling that has to go along with that because of that. Now, one area where I think it would be kind of cool to apply a ladder tournament like this would be in soccer for a World Club Championship. Now, I know there's been some effort at making World Club Championships at various times during the year, or various times in history, and it's never really come together very well, right? We have the UEFA Champions League. That's basically the highest level of competition for club competition. World Club Championships have just never been much of a thing. Um, I think it would be kind of cool if they could be, because it would give clubs from elsewhere in the world outside of Europe a chance to possibly compete. Now, I know realistically that's right now not happening, but maybe sometime in the future, who knows? So, anyways, I think it would be kind of cool if you could do something like this. Maybe we can pick, say, 3 match days per year, maybe only 2 in World Cup years or something like that. Maybe you have to cut out some of the existing competition to make it happen. I don't know. But we have worldwide club competition, say 3 times a year. If that's too much, make it 2 or whatever. That's not so important. In which we simply rank all of the clubs and they go play their matches, right? And we could say the number 1 hosts the match or something like that. And then based on the result, you just move over here, which means, of course, you're going to have 3 World Club Championship matches per year. And whoever wins it is the current champion, and they get to hold on to that championship until eventually they lose. I think it'd be a kind of cool way to do it. It makes it stand out as a competition from the league and tournament type of competitions that exist, which I'm not at all saying to do any getting rid of those. But I think this would make that kind of stand out a little bit. You'd have a World Club champion. If they ever actually did something like this, I'm sure that the World Championship would actually not be as prestigious as the UEFA Championship, the Champions League championship, at least not initially. But maybe someday it could get to it, and I'm sure that to start off, you'd have the top teams in Europe would take the top several of these spots, right? But hey, who knows? Maybe eventually you could get a team from I don't even know where else, from South America or somewhere else in the world that could start slowly making its way up these rankings, right? And by doing it this way, you actually don't even have to worry about questions like which league is stronger and how many leagues, how many spots should each team get? Do we want to give the English Premier League, a 7th team versus allowing, an extra team from Iceland or what, however it works. So you don't even have to worry about this. You just rank all the teams worldwide, and you can say, you can decide how far down this you want to go. You can say the top 12 participate in this, and then maybe the teams that fill in these spots from the top 12, instead of being from matches like this, you simply say, oh well, the team that was 13th will we'll just give them their shot, and the team that loses from the top 12, well, they're out for the following round, right? So we only play down to here or something, right? If that's not enough, we can go down to 20, or we can go down to 30, 33 here, or however we want to do it. That's not super critical. But I think that'd be a pretty awesome way to do it. It would work for any kind of a head-to-head competition. Anytime where you are constrained by the number of matches that you're able to host, but you can have a continuously going competition of some sort. That's where this goes. That's why it often goes for something like boxing, because in boxing they can only fight a few times a year. You can't have a boxer going a couple times a week, at least not usually. Um, so they come up with a different way to do it. And I kind of feel like something like World Club Soccer is kind of like that, because the schedule is so tight and there's restrictions on travel and everything, that it's kind of hard to hold very many matches in terms of a worldwide soccer club competition. But if you did something like this, then maybe that would work. Maybe 3 times a year is too much, right? But I would imagine it would only be for the top few teams that you would actually have them travel around the world to compete in this. and that below that you would have some kind of a ranking to get them in. And of course, that does indeed lead to some of the same issues I just talked about. Oh, well, the the winner of MLS in the United States, right? Like, where should they fall on this? Given that we're not actually playing all of these games, we're somehow going to have to rank them in. And of course, we could play a few more. We could have some special play-ins. We could match up some of these lower games regionally instead of worldwide, and then have only the very top few be worldwide. There's all sorts of modifications you can do to this. But anyways, I'm kind of thinking that a ladder tournament, it doesn't quite get enough love, and I think that where you find that there a competition is missing, it doesn't exist where it should, and the reason is because of scheduling issues, and I think that's pretty common. I think that maybe it might be worth it to try to consider something like this. So, anyways, yeah, again, as always, let me know what you guys think. Bye.